Are you recording?
Yeah. No, it's me. You can start.
Okay. Thank you for being here, everyone. Good afternoon. And well, we have the pleasure to start our class today with Wendy Roberts, right? She comes directly from Minnesota in the United States. And I'm sure she has a lot to share with us, and she will tell us more about herself. Okay? So let's give her a big hand.
Thank you. So I'm a little bit under the weather. I'm sick. It was a little while. I came from Argentina, sick with a cold. So I'm originally from Venezuela, but I've been living in Minnesota for the last 20 years. And I went from Venezuela in '87 to go to college, and then I met my friends and stayed. It was not part of the plan. So I teach Spanish at the University of Minnesota, and also I'm the advisor for the ESL program that we have for the community in our city. And so that's what it kind of brings me here. It's a little bit different, but it's kind of the same. And so I'll be talking about observing classes. We call this pre-service, right? You're just about to go into your own classroom and do your teaching, do your lessons and all that. So we go further. The reason I'm here is because 2011, Alina Hill, one of your teachers here, traveled to Minnesota through the partnership that exists there, and I was lucky enough to invite her to my classroom and have different events where she, as an ambassador of the Uruguay, the Alianza, went to visit. And so we had a wonderful time, and I kept in touch with her, and I said, well, if I ever down in South America, I'll be sure to make it to Uruguay, and I did. So I gave the title Ready to be in the Classroom. I know some of you already have done it, but the idea is that I'll be giving you some tips and some ideas about what to actually look for and make it very, very interesting and productive for you to observe the veteran teachers. Like really, not exactly how you do it, but I think that's what's going to happen. And then the second part will be talk a little bit about your lesson planning. So I think it's a good combination because you'll be looking for that lesson plan that your veteran teacher is going to be using, right? And so just some tips, what to look for, how to make the visits really, of the observations through the internet, more productive for you. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about how important it is to have a lesson plan, and not only going to be like major critics as you see in that classroom, right? But you're going to see how your teacher moves around that master plan that he designed. Also kind of look into what, you know what, this is not the presentation. Oh, we'll skip that. Because if we see, I knew it was going to happen. I'm not well, and I have like 3 prototypes of it. We'll be fine. So I like this diagram because it kind of gives you some idea about what is it that we're looking for. What are those principles? What are the basics of how we teach English learners, right? And so we have this 6 P's here, and the most important one is in the middle, is like knowing your learners. What do you think that is important? What is important for you as instructors to know who your learners are? What do you get out of that? Anyone?
The context, the background.
What would that information be good for?
To keep them motivated.
Exactly, right? The more you know your students, the better those lesson plans will go. You can personalize, right? The common things that we try to do to motivate to have the students kind of doing what we want them to be doing, right? And then, of course, we have creating vision for language learning, right? And sometimes that's kind of hard. We have this constrained physical characteristics. We have a curriculum, we have our own ideas, so we have to follow something. Design high quality language lessons. So again, everything kind of goes to that lesson plan, right? So that's what we are here for, to talk about what to do, what to look for in the classroom, and also that lesson plan. Adapt lessons delivered as needed. Exactly. To adapt a lesson delivered as needed. Anyway. There's no right or wrong area, you know, it's like.
So we might have a phase and we have to see through that, knowing the students and the learners, to see how to keep them interested in a lesson and how to work with them in an environment that they know and understand easily.
Yeah, because, you know, we don't know what's happening in the mind of our students, right? We have this wonderful lesson planning, something might change. That's what I call planning, right? You always have to have a way to make this work. And then, you know, P5, monitor and assess language development, right? So that's super important because, of course, we want them to have a good time. We want them to see them progressing. That, you know, we need to see, find ways to do that evaluation, right? Be informal or formal, and see how the progress is going. And then engage and collaborate with a community of practice. You know, books are great, but this is when you're in the classes, when the theory becomes practice. You need to really kind of have them, you know, using the language, right? What we call those communicative activities, right? So they can move forward. So we talked about these things, you know. Number one, know your learners, as we said before. Those conditions, you need to create them, right? You have wonderful facilities. I know some of you teach online, but you know, your disposition and the fact that you have all the technology that will make that connection with the students happen. It's wonderful. Yeah. Deciding that lesson, like we said before, it's super important. So it's all revolving around this language, you know, development. Adolescents, you know, see something happen, you know, somebody had an experience that it was interesting to share and combine with what you did, or you get stuck your lesson and grab that. It's what we call a teaching moment, right? It's like it's good to have those. Assessing constantly, you know, you don't get to choose not to do it. You know, it's like you're going to be doing quizzes all the time, and you have to kind of see how the group is progressing. And then definitely this hands-on thing. So here is some kind of guidelines, because I understand you're going to be going to observe teachers, correct? Is that what's going to happen? You're going to go and sit time in the classroom. You can see how this teacher does the job. It's not going to happen. So it is a wonderful opportunity for the instructors of the pre-service instructors to grab some great ideas. And of course, you know, I'm not going to do that. It's going to happen also here and there. But you become more aware of those possibilities. It's also a good idea to go with a plan, because, you know, you say, well, I'm not teaching, I'm just here to watch. But it's good for you to have kind of like a draft, you know, or a skeleton of what you're going to be looking for. What are you interested in learning? What's going to happen? In fact, you know, hopefully your teacher will share your lesson plan with you, so you know where this class is going, right? But I'll give you some ideas about what to move forward. You know, what tasks you're going to be trying to perform as you sit there and observe. This is what you can see through our practice. We have to go together hand in hand. And then hopefully we'll develop your own teaching style, not in one observation. I'm just only going to be doing several, right? Then you start kind of seeing where you're going to be in the spectrum of an instructor. So we talked about the class profile, right? That will tell us about who our students are, right? And so what else are we looking for? We're thinking about the class profile. What are the elements that we're looking for? So we tried to get it figured out.
The age range?
Exactly, age. Level, absolutely.
How many people are in the classrooms?
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about class conditions, you know, that's going to be a big factor. We'll get to that page when we have more of those things that we were there. And we'll also be looking about teacher-class interactions. What do we refer? What does that mean? Class interactions.
For instructions.
That's one of the elements. How does she give direction? So how does she move in the classroom, right? For example, I'm a lefty, so I'm always teaching to the left. And I try to not do that. That interaction, does she have eye contact, does she walk around, right? Yeah, exactly. It's all that happens in the classroom. You gotta keep an eye on that too as you are observing. And then, again, also, who does the teacher interact with the class and how often too, right? Because we as a beginner teachers, you're going to be kind of concentrated on this guy that always raises his hand, right? And so we need to find a way that the interaction happens with all of you in the classroom and not just with a group or that person that actually can have the answer for you. And that's okay. Sometimes that's very appropriate. You know that Susie is going to have the answer, and that's going to kind of lift the moral of the classroom if you go for Susie. No problem. Also, to what extent the teacher is successful, when she asks the question, is she asking the appropriate question, right? So just start with this yes, no, and then, the possibility of a complete answer, right? It's also interesting to see how the students respond, right? So, how she calls, they raise their hand, they all start talking at the same time, like they're looking at their notes, we control that. And how does one use a chosen too? Because this is what you don't want to do, right? If that's the case, that the volunteer is always the same, because the expectation is that the person's going to have the answer, and you don't want to do that. So you gotta start to look for ways to move on the classroom. So just have a little bit of discussion, and you can turn to your neighbor, and you can talk about all these. Of course, all our teachers in the Alianza are fantastic, right? But so how do we will this influence your teaching? So you still turn around, I'm assuming you know what you're going to be looking for, but talk to each other for a second and think about what is it that you're going to get out of these observations. What are you looking for? How will that influence your teaching? You're probably already pretty well defined. I'm a student-centered teacher. I'm not going to be on the stage, as you say, right? I'm going to be on this kind of activity. So talk for a minute to see what would you think you would take, what would your observations it would influence that your teaching style. Okay. 2 seconds. What are you looking for as you observe those classes? Okay. So again, the best thing you can do is to prepare and start looking for ways to really, make those observations really give you something, right? So you might go already with some ideas about what to look for, and then those first observations that you're going to be doing, given all the training that you have, are going to influence your teaching. So who wants to volunteer? What was the discussion about?
We discussed that it's kind of like looking at ourselves in the mirror, like we learn from the one who is teaching. We also get ideas, and we also realize that maybe we do things one way, and we don't think about other ways to do it, and then we learn, we have feedback, and I think it's beneficial for both, for the one who's teaching, for the one who's observing. It's like looking at myself in the mirror. Am I doing this? Is it doing good? Is it good?
This is endless options and possibilities, right? Because you have your own way, and then there's other way to do it. Anyone else? What did you discuss?
We discussed,
It's like my students
we discussed perhaps just looking for small details, things that you don't pick up when you're like on one side of the equation, or even on the other side, you're just looking from like a third perspective into the ambience and how it all comes together. And perhaps you can we said we can look at things that perhaps don't work to cater to the students or the motivation, or how we can track them into what the center of the lesson is or whatever. But, just
Wonderful, yeah. That's those two comments are really wonderful ones, because it's true. We need to start kind of stopping to stop thinking about being a student but become a teacher too. So now it is hard, to change roles and see kind of from that perspective what's happening in the classroom, possibilities of things being done differently, and it's a wonderful opportunity to really start designing, deciding what we're going to be doing. So when we talk about aspects of the classes that we're going to provide, this is what we're looking at. So maybe the school, what kind of school we schools here, the teacher, the class, number, gender, age of students. You mentioned all that. When do they start studying English? That should be the level, right? Course book, supplementary materials currently used with the textbook. We know the book is not everything. It's what you bring to the classroom, and other relevant information that has to do with the school or the classroom that you're teaching. So you start kind of making that list, because that will get back to that somehow and see, oh, that's why. And that's why he's been now working on. Objective conditions for learning, what is it about the classroom, the teacher, and the student that helps create conditions for effective learning? So we can have a little chart, and we can kind of, as we go and observe and go through the lesson, we start looking for those positive factors that are in the classroom, negative factors, and some of the activities that the teachers try to do, how those activities work, it's got to do with the physical aspect, it has to do with the design. You might find that sometimes the classroom is not in the greatest mood, and it's not the fault, the teacher's fault, it's just the way it goes. But that's kind of a good task to have in mind, those conditions for learning, and there are going to be wonderful things, but there are going to be things that we might not agree with. So it's good to go with that in mind, and you're going to learn from those observations. Sometimes you say, I know what I'm doing. It's part of the process. I need to watch this. But I think it's good to go with that in mind. And then think about it. So what would I do with that teacher? And how would you incorporate it in your teaching, right? And it could be anything, her charming personality. So you can say, well, how do I do that? Teaching skill and techniques that they might have. And the way a teacher, creates that atmosphere, and every day is going to be a little bit different. But there is that constant, right? That the teacher builds, and there's nothing like routines for our students sometimes. It's good to surprise them sometimes. But I think it's to lower the levels of anxiety. It's always good to have kind of that routine and see how that happens and how you can incorporate it in your students. Classroom dynamics also is another thing you should be looking for. And so it's always a good idea to try to pick a student in the classroom. And I'm sure you've been told this already, right? Okay, so you grab Susie, don't grab her. Just kind of sit next to her, the way that you can see how she reacted to the whole class. It's a wonderful exercise because it's only one student in the classroom, and you can take a lot from that student. And so you kind of time, every 5 minutes you see what's that student doing. And then as the activity is in progress, what the student is saying or doing, and then you write those comments. And of course, in the perfect world, you are writing comments that you all then will be discussing with this teacher too. And you should do this observation without kind of being so obvious. Like you right? You just kind of do that. So that's another task that you should be kind of like, okay. So homework, when the homework time comes around, so what kind of homework, the time spent This could be also in terms of how long the teacher explain what homework is going to be. Is it relevant for the students and the language needs of the lesson, the moment, the level? How does the teacher prepare the students for that homework? You know, so the things that you pretty much have to rehearse as you prepare your lessons. You know, you don't want to be wasting time trying to explain the obvious or, you know, be very, very effective. Is the class attentive? You know, and that's the other thing, you know, the dynamic in that classroom, they already started, and you come in the middle. You know, sometimes everyone is going to be at the beginning of a semester or a session. But it's good to observe, you know, how the teachers are training those students to quickly grab their attention for the explaining the lesson. And then, you know, of course, in the next lesson, we'll see how students get feedback from that homework. You know, sometimes it could be a writing, it could be an oral thing, or preparation, right? So you're looking for things like this approach to produce interesting and formula results. You know, you have to kind of develop the ability to see if that homework is just like a easy work or is actual work that's going to be helping the student and helping you to create that path for those objectives that you have at the end of the course. And again, how seeing these is going to affect the way you do things. And I can throw that question again. So what would you be influenced by, you know, after you see your teacher doing these things? How would that kind of influence again the way that you assign homework, so the way you explain homework?
How much time she or he spent on explaining, and when they explain, if it's at the beginning of the lesson or at the end or at the middle, because usually by the end of the class, the students are all, they just want to leave, and so maybe not everyone understands, or they just say, yes, we understand, to just leave the classroom. So to know how they explain it and when they explain it.
And how much preparation that took, right? What's the training? You know, that's the one thing that you might not have developed yet. And you see the better teachers doing magic work, you know, when the kids are just, you know, she already offered to cut their heads. It wasn't done correctly at the end. Who knows what he doing, right? Given directions, I think somebody mentioned that too, you know, in terms of interaction too. It's also all these kind of skills that you will be getting with time. But if you are observing a better teacher, a good teacher, you know, you can grab those things. Or, you know, they you know, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it right this way. So you pay attention to things like how they should get the attention from the students, like, hey, you! Or it's something like it's being kind of developed too, that she kind of raises her hand, or the time is right, how does she do this thing? But she uses simple language, short sentences, logic and clarity. You know, it happens to me. I've been teaching for, I won't tell you, it's going to calculate my age, not having 25. But, you know, sometimes you have this great idea in your head, and you write it down, and then you're going to say it, and it sounds like Russian or something else, and it gives a little bit like, what? So it can happen, you know, so how logic, you know, how the steps in which you are communicating with the students are the right pace, the right words, the use of target language. Sometimes, for the sake of time, some teachers in the language classroom switch to their mother language because they think they'll move at the same time here. So if I start explaining this in English, you know, waste too much time. So how does that happen? You know, the voice problem, eye contact. How does that happen? That's another thing to pay attention to, because then that goes back to that well-rehearsed kind of how to do things. And then you try things. Not everything is going to work, but you know, you finish on this person is doing it, and then you try to repeat what she did, or just do it differently, right? So again, observe the teacher using rich consider which elements made it less successful, right? So what would you avoid? what are the most important factors for you personally when you're giving direction? I can ask you. So what would be some elements that need to be there when you're giving directions? What needs to be there? So you don't waste time, you don't have to repeat.
Sorry. Maybe writing it down so they can see it and they can maybe if they want to copy it or something, but always seeing it is a good way to remember.
Right. And then again, we don't know in terms of what you have available, but sometimes for those kinesthetic learners, it's good to have a piece of paper that are touching us, they really want that needs to be done. And then again, that goes back to how well you know your students, right? And that, personally, you need to be clear, you have to use concise language, and it needs to be done, and always need formal clarifications, right? You don't want to ever let those kids go without really them understanding. You're like, no, I'll figure it out. My mom speaks English, so I'll come on downstairs. And then again, what would you incorporate your own teaching of what that person is doing in the classroom? That's why you're kind of looking, right, at in the list. I'm not going to be like, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. It's going to be like you're taking notes and trying to translate that in your mind about how would that be applied. So there are other tasks that you can do as you observe. For example, what type of question does the teacher ask? And then we go to that yes or no, to a definition, something longer and more complete. They call the answers, how the students are responding. Oh, yes. Oh, no, I meant no. Yeah, are they really involved? Is she really doing a great job asking the questions so the student do have an answer? The quality of the answer, wait time. That's kind of like the big thing. So I ask the question, say, okay, 1, 2, 3. When is a good time to just kind of like pick somebody or just answer the question yourself, right? And then the pacing, about how quick and how you move from something like yes or no questions to something more elaborated. So you'll be looking for those things. How the students talk, right? So sometimes, the classes, and depending on the level, depending on what the work of the teacher in the classroom has been, there's a lot of interaction and it's a conversation. It moves from point A to B to C to D, right? Back to A, but it's kind of a lovely interaction. That's the way it's supposed to happen, depending on your lesson, right? But that's what you're looking for. It's not like a one-to-one, right? It's just like a conversation. That's what communicative activities are supposed to be. And then, this idea about artificial language to real classroom language, right? So by that is something like they are pretending that they are answering the questions, they memorize answers, so there's actual real conversation. It's actually that they are internalized, that they are answering it. They just have, it doesn't matter which level you use. Right? How to be looking for these things. You look for patterns too, right? So at what time, at what point in the lesson, it's always the same. This yes, no, very short answers. The kids are disconnected. You see that it's just kind of a memorized. This thing happy, this teacher. She just wants a little bit of talking. And what aspect of the teaching, later on those longer answers, that's what you're always looking for, right? So, of course, there's a lot of preparation from the students to how did that happen in the classroom. You also pay attention to that. And how more natural language actually happens in the classroom. As of course, that's the general goal for all language teachers. So we were talking about so many aspects in this classroom, in this lesson, as you are seeing there. So academic learning is something else that you should pay attention to. Is when the students are actually grabbing all the skills to achieve these high accuracy grades and completing those learning activities. Because, of course, we're always looking, learning is important, and that's what we refer to grammar, but we want them to be also proficient, right? We want to hear them speaking. So you pay attention also to what else is happening in the classroom most of the time. And then the biggest nemesis for another teacher, right? So what's the balance? Who's doing the talking? Right now is maybe. And it's true that sometimes, depending on where you are in the lesson, there's going to be a lot of need for that input. But are you doing it in a way that the students are going to be able to give something back? And that's why you always need to be thinking, always. And if this percentage is kind of crazy, how could that be improved? As you are sitting in that classroom, saying, "Oh my gosh, you could have just not said that," and the kids were ready to speak. And so how we do adapt to your classroom? So it's really a 50-50, or actually more of the students with the talking. This is also a very important part of the classroom observation and what will happen. It doesn't always happen, but there's a planned classroom languages and Virginia, right? So if something happens, a student wants to share something. So it's like, oh no, that's not part of my lesson. I'm sorry. We can't talk about it. So how so smoothly this teacher grab that opportunity to develop skills and vocab, make the classroom to converse, and also to respect your students. Because that's, we always come with this idea that you don't know anything, I know everything, so we have to do it my way. So that's kind of like also to create that community in the classroom, to get to know those students very well. So, the one that travels, likes to talk, has many experiences, the other don't have, to say, okay, this is time to share. How do that spontaneous language use go as the teacher stopped it, or actually opens the opportunity for everybody to learn from language? And then, of course, the biggest, the elephant in the room, right? Sometimes, in the very beginning levels, some of the teachers feel the need to do a lot of their mother tongue, which is a big no-no. And if that happens, is it justified? So you're doing this kind of examination, right? Remember, you're not a jury there. You're just kind of trying to grab as much as you can from this wonderful teacher that you're observing. And so sometimes it might be justified, sometimes it might not be justified. You're kind of there like, okay, how will I avoid this, and how will I go forward as I become a perfect teacher? We talk about this accuracy versus fluency, right? So practice and inform with the idea of that get to that accuracy, So you need to observe great activities in the lesson where that will kind of propose this accuracy without completely forgetting the form, for example. That fluency oriented or the accuracy oriented, all the skills spoken and written. So you kind of course, like I say, I don't really know how do you do these observations, how long, and what you're expected to do if you're doing writings and giving it back to your teachers. But you need to be kind of looking at all the skills. How is this happening for this teacher? How is it doing it? The idea is not just the quantity, but the quality of what's happening in the classroom, right? Sometimes we want just production, right? And that's okay, depending on the lesson. Just go for it. And then again, you are kind of observing if you think the balance of those activities are right, or that should be changed. That's something that you also, as a teacher, right? So you develop those wonderful lessons you're going to be looking for. So you're getting that accuracy, right? Also, some proficiency is happening there. Kids can communicate. Nowadays, that's pretty much the tendency. You want the students to be able to speak, right? So you have to find a way to create activities that are also going to be working for and getting them to where they need to be. Yeah, so we go to that lesson plan, right? Because you will see how far or how close these teachers are to that lesson plan, that magic piece of paper that's in a line, right? You almost never see it. So that good lesson plan is often invisible, but it's essential part of good teaching, especially effective language teaching. So, like I said, you're not going to be a veteran. You're not going to see a veteran teacher checking for her lesson plan and checking the time. That's something that we develop with time. But there is a plan. that's why we need to be sure. Do they share their plans with the students as they come to observe, or you just sit there?
Sometimes they do, yeah.
No plan, no fun. That's definitely what it is. And so if you don't have a plan, you have these big pumps like ours, the students can smell it. You come in and you're going to be talking about that trip to England without aim, without real lesson, they're going to eat you alive. Kids, adults. So you're supposed to always have those objectives in your mind. Where are we going with this? How long are your classes?
Generally 2 hours.
2 hours,
Yeah.
so you have a break in between.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have these objectives that you're trying to get to, these 2 hours. If you don't have a plan, you're not going to get to them. Sometimes you need extra pieces of paper, you need those copies, you need to be really ready. You just cannot say, well, let's just imagine that I have the smart board here and die. And then there is no connection between the lessons or whatever you did before and plan to do next. It's so important too. So let's start with a plan, and we'd like to help students and teachers. It's for both. It's not just for the students. So there's no frustration, pleasant surprise. You stay on track, and then you get to this objective, which is kind of the main goal. That also allows you to have kind of a map, a roadmap, right, for where you're going with that lesson plan. It actually has to be, that's just part of a big long road, and everything has to kind of somehow fit. And the better you're prepared, you'll see how that magically works in the classroom too. So as you know, there are many ways to many lesson plan formats, and the big thing is objectives. That's my big fight with my students as they prepare to be in the classroom. They really don't understand what objectives are, so it's always have to do with a verb. Students will be able to speak, present, express, explain. So your materials, if you need them, what class activities, how's that going to start? You will have a warm-up or presentation, and then you're going to have a practice application. You have homework. You're going to have to do some evaluation. Simple one, introduction, structure, practice with feedback. So it's always good to kind of do the I, as you are trying to explain things, and then kind of incorporate them all, and then you ask for individuals to do. So you sometimes have time to do a summary. It's always kind of important. You have your objectives, right? And you can get the back of the lesson and say, hey, we did this, and we did this, we did that. And then with time, you will have to do it so the students know that they're going to get to those objectives. But I think it's a good exercise for the first beginning. And I was talking about the practice, the feedback, and then the evaluation could be, now it's your turn, kind of thing. So that's a good thing. Again, depending where you are in the lesson, the lesson plan will change on the curriculum. So sometimes it's important to have a review, right? It's a good way to connect and then gather their thoughts and start with a good atmosphere, things that they already learned. You're not going to be asking things that they haven't learned, right? They were supposed to prepare. The presentation, you do some practice again. The evaluation is always happening. Assessment is always happening, right? Because you present what you're going to be doing. You have enough practice there, and then immediately after that, you might want to see some production. That's actually what always should happen in the classroom. None of this lecturing forever, and the students think you want to learn practice and different applications too. So these are the basic elements, right? You need to have those objectives. You need to do some category assessment. You can ask a few questions to see where they are. Sometimes you do have a little background, or it was a wonderful lesson the one before, and so you can kind of make it part of the lesson that, your materials, that warm up is always really important, especially when they come from all over, and, in my case, when I'm teaching, the kids come from chemistry, and so they're interested in chemistry, or in the case of our community learners, they have a very busy day, and so there's no way kind of to have them all together. Practice, evaluation, and application of that. that you learn, what they learn. So, we talked about the importance of getting to know your students. Who are they? Why are they there? You know, of course, we know they want to learn English, like you. How well do they comprehend, speak, read, or write English? What do they know about the Italian culture? That's another big aspect. We have to find a way to stop stereotyping and giving them actually real images about the culture, so along with the language. So what style of classroom teaching are they used to? You know? And that's the other thing. You know, we tend to teach the way we like to learn. That's kind of the biggest mistake we can. So if you can get a hold of some kind of quick testing about, you know, what I think there are visuals, you know, learners, you know, 99.9% of the population are visual learners. To be sure that you are on the know about all the ways in which students can learn. And it's many times when you're so far away from what you learn, how you learn it. So, but it doesn't mean that you're going to forget about what it felt to be a student, because some of you are very young still, and you can remember what you hated what's happening in the classroom. So, yeah, try to figure it out right away after you finish your observations and try to build a classroom. I start again, you know, I cannot tell you enough about the importance of this team and the objectives, right? The topic is what the lesson all about. That's what we kind of put this umbrella, right? And we get the students excited. You know, you're going to be talking about this today, or you can present it in a different way. So all puzzle topics include readings, comfort topics, practice writing. The objectives, you know, those are going to reveal new skills that our students are going to be performing. And so what the students are going to be gaining out of that. So not the teacher did such a great job. No, but the students were able to grab on the lesson. I don't know why this comes here, but so you know, this is kind of a little example, you know, students will use social aquatic reading expressions in role-play situations. So, you know, it's not just what they're going to be able to do, how they're going to do it, but say, so you are building those objectives, and at the same time, you're finding ways that they're going to show you and demonstrate that they actually got to their objective. Another example is to understand the difference between simple present tense, and this is kind of more like form, and sometimes you have to get the grammar before you can actually have those wonderful practices going on. The materials, you know, I said, this is kind of like a really nice rehearsal of what's going to happen in the classroom. And those are materials that the students also will need. And I don't know how it works here, but sometimes you have to kind of provide those too. So your lesson plan kind of will happen. So we talk about the warm-up review. How are we doing this? Yeah.
Yeah.
At 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Awesome. Like I said, you know, depending on where you are, you know, it's probably very appropriate to have that warm-up, and sometimes you don't need that, you know, because you can go straight on things. You can go out and do the review. The good reviews are not done by teachers. Students should be able to come up with, you know, you're just going to open up, and then the students start demonstrating what they've learned, but they can't remember. That sometimes feels really good, sometimes like, oh my gosh, I did not remember anything of this. But so, you know, this is one, you know, way to do it, you know, with visuals, you know, it's kind of like the students feel more, you know, in the mood, you know, so what you see in this picture, you know, you tell the students, have you ever been to a really fancy party? You know, you start kind of using vocab and expressions that they already use, so they can feel motivated to even give a list of vocab and then have them involved. How would you introduce yourself to other people in this kind of situation? So that kind of presents a possibility to rehearse some things that they already have done before. Again, you know, what's introduction? You know, they are a little different, right? The introduction usually leads to right into the presentation, face of the lesson. There are still separate parts, you know, and they have different purposes. The introduction just provides the motivation. That's what we call sometimes the hook. You heard that expression, right? So how do you get those students, oh my gosh, I learned about this.
Writings exercise.
Those two?
Yes.
Okay. So that's kind of part of that beginning thing. Related to the new materials, the students' rate of knowledge and experiences too. The checks for students' comprehension. Model examples of the tasks that will be expected. That's the other important thing. So if you want the students to start doing something, you give time and yourself and your best student in the classroom to model that. Because then they'll feel like they can do it. Then you pass it to them. Okay, now you would help yourself with a lot of help and support. So constantly you need to be checking that they are understanding. You not just go on and have Susie, the perfect student, be the star in the classroom. So you have to be sure that everybody in the classroom gets the opportunity and understand. And it's not you constantly say, do you understand, right? And you understand? So you just gotta have a way that you move around the classroom when you assign different activities, and you get that body language from your students. So that it is an important thing not to forget. You just turn around as you assign them to do something. That practice is so important, right? It's well structured. It's like when we're talking about explanation of how things are going to be happening. So the more clear you are, the better they get into the task of practicing. It's super important. It's control, teaching control. So it's meaningful, the students are aware of what they are saying, and it's communicative, right? So this is when things get real, right? As they are performing, and you can hear that it's not just to memorize kind of a piece, but they are really understanding how to use it. Like I said, the evaluation, I don't know how that works here. If you have term tests or quizzes or you have the different activities, well, there are many kinds. It's a formal, it's informal, it's like every day, every minute, and you're always doing it. It doesn't always mean it's a test, but you are trying to be sure that the students are understanding. If they are clearly they are not understanding, you need to go back and review and explain again. You don't want to ever move forward because they have this curriculum, your lesson plan. In my school of education, you need to have 5 minutes your lesson plan. So if it's not working, you need to go back. Like I said, sometimes you need to have those after instruction testing to confirm that the students actually accomplish those objectives, and it doesn't happen every lesson. It's at the end. Set up any class situation where students will need to use English that is related to the objectives of your lessons, and then just simply observe them. So that's the other thing, and that should happen, right? So that that at the end of an activity, you kind of prep them, and they are all set up, and they can do those tasks in a kind of easy way. Again, depending on where you are in the lesson and what are you doing, but it's simply observing how they're doing things. You can take your notes. This is the most common one. You are always kind of looking into that, and then every assignment that they do, it's still serves as an evaluation. I don't know if you'll be able to get a whole of some of the activities that the students are going to be doing in that classroom that you observe. That's another way to see, for you to see if what the teacher is doing in the classroom is actually being achieved. And then, what would you look for? How would you change things if you were to be a teacher in the classroom? Whatever you do, remember that the evaluation should be related to your objectives, right? You say, you were able to conjugate a verb here. How do you talk about that? So be sure that you are evaluating on the things that are your goal for that. It's an essential part of your lesson, and it should be included. Those activities to practice, after you have kind of explained what the language skills, the cultural situation, the teacher should give you opportunities to have meaningful practices. And that doesn't mean they're done. The teacher will evaluate the students must evaluate the students to make sure that they are improving these skills correctly, right? Because sometimes they say, oh, they are speaking, it doesn't matter. That you kind of really have to kind of do that control and be sure that they are actually using it correctly. And it's kind of quite a picture of the future. And then always find a way to apply that to the real life, because there's nothing more boring than being taught something whenever you out of the classroom. So anytime you have a way in that lesson to create an activity that is feasible, that is going to happen eventually in your life, so it can happen immediately, do it. That's I'm sure you've heard that before. That's really important. So understand this, that if you create those activities, where they can see that they will be in those situations sooner or later, they'll be more meaningful. They will stay with them and they'll be able to reproduce it. That's exactly what you're trying to do in the classroom. We constantly, finding ways to get them to practice, like a real situation. I know it's hard in the classroom sometimes, but I hear a lot of English as I'm walking around Montevideo. So there are opportunities. I see many of things written in both languages. So there are opportunities for them to practice in real life. And there's some examples of so that's not me. I was telling you, sometimes things don't work the way you hope they were going to happen. Doesn't work via the computer. You forgot your notes, or whatever you were going to hand out for them to do an activity. You always have to have. So what else can happen? So you have this wonderful lesson plan, right? What else can happen to you that will stop you from presenting this wonderful lesson plan? So give me some examples. What can happen? I told you about the computer not working. You have this lovely PowerPoint, or you have this video to show. What else can happen to you? What would you do?
A few students in the classroom. Few students in the classroom. Maybe plan for 10, 20 students.
That's right.
25 comes to class.
Excellent. Yeah, that could happen, right? Yeah. It happened to my ESL instructors all the time. Sometimes they have 20, and sometimes they have 2. And yeah, so what would you do then? You have this wonderful activity. Everybody's going to be working in pairs, and that's going to be perfect timing. Just what would you do?
We can take advantage to assess those students individually, or to have more of an intimate class with them. Just as you said before, that you could be talking to one and see how they advance. And now you have 5 students to see how the class is improving. Do it in person.
None of this panicking, right? They always have some fun. Right? Yeah. Anything else?
Maybe you can have some material with you in case you need to work with a few students. You can use
exactly, right? Because it doesn't make any sense to advance the whole lesson if you then have this 20 back and what happen.
What happens if you're asked to teach a class that is not your class? I mean, in the minute you are substitute to another teacher that is missing. What do you do then?
Well, if you're a seasoned teacher, you know what to do. You just kind of pull anything. Nowadays you have a computer.
But if it's not your level, I mean, if it's not the level you used to teach.
Well, and hopefully nobody's observing you. You can do whatever you want. So that can happen too. They can sit you in a place, and then you start little conversations. And try to keep it in the target language. It's the biggest thing. You need to understand your level, but you're not allowed to panic. You need to kind of move forward. And one of the things that you can just introducing yourself and talking about the experience, modeling some language that they can say, but you don't just say, "Hey, I'm sorry, this is not my level." I'm not getting paid for that either.
Maybe some warm up would help to see how, what were they planning the last lesson, what were they practicing, or what the teacher said.
Right, that's a good one, right? So hopefully they can keep it in the second language, and you can say, "So what were you doing on Monday?" "Oh, that's great," and so that kind of thing together, a little lesson plan there. But that can happen. That's real life. know, one of the things you can do if the kids are not getting it, or the kids that showed up are the ones that don't ever get it. So you can go back to use an alternate simplified version of the practice activity. Practice exercise is expected easy for the student. That can happen too, you know. So for example, you are training for kids with higher skills, and then you know, you have to find a way to transform that, so to lower the level. Or it can happen too that you have, you know, you prepare these lessons, it's hard, these kids are not gonna get it, and then they're like, you know, they took their vitamins, I don't know, they spoke to the uncle in England, and their English is doing great, so yeah, what do? You have to kind of, you know, do a little dance in your pick there, so those are things that can happen. As you do only the even numbers, for example, right, so you run out of time, and so you have plenty of material, but then, you know, you can just ask them to do few of them. When your students arrive, explain that the movie was too difficult, none of them has done it. What do you do? So that's kind of like it was going to be a big essential part, no one did the homework.
Maybe because they didn't understand what to do. So
No kidding.
you must take a step back maybe and
Right.
Maybe do it all together and
Very
plus.
well.
Yeah,
Or they
transform
do
it
it
into a
upstairs.
You're not gonna go again. Oh my gosh! I wasted all my time. Can't do it. Oh, okay, so well, let's just go back to, you know, that. So when you're showing a video as part of your lesson, the projectors are making funny noises. Gabriel is not in the building. You find out that you can't continue showing the video, and we'll be trying to fix it who is not in the building. What do you do? Oh, well, he wasn't back to film anyway. So you need to kind of really come up with something, you know, well, we saw half of it, so you're going to be Peter, and it's going to be, how do we continue this? What do you think is the end of this movie? You know, trying to make it fun, and your students learn quickly, and you come to the end of your fun lesson in 10 minutes, and there's still class. And your supervisor's not there, saying, how would you do? It's another kind of golden opportunity too, right? What would you do?
a game maybe.
A game?
Sure. Work on production.
Yeah, yeah. You're always looking for the way to leave that classroom in a very positive tone. So they will not come back saying things like, I don't get it. I don't know what that was all about. Even Susie.
So maybe when you make the plan, make 2 or 3 activities in case of you have time to do it.
That's wonderful, you know, but this is, you know, this is kind of a weird case that you have 10 minutes extra. Nobody doing, oh my gosh, right? But it's, you know, you should always kind of in the back of your mind, in that lesson plan, leave some room for extra explanation. Let's do it together, you know, because you'll know when the material is going to be too hard, and it's going to be, you know, even if you were so wonderful explaining it, and they have all the material to support themselves outside, but sometimes it's not going to happen. So you can get into the habit of having time to practice before you.
Or use the homework as a task, as a new task.
There you go.
And maybe not homework.
This group is so ready. They should be already teaching. Very good. And the biggest piece of all is non-reflection. As you observe and as you become the teacher in that classroom. I know sometimes when I feel like a punch in your stomach after you close that book and the students leave, it's a must. That's what it actually is going to make you a better teacher. Be that teacher that you always wanted to have in your classroom. Sometimes you have wonderful teachers, sometimes you have those great teachers. So what went well in this lesson and why? Should be more things that you reflect upon. What part did I experience and what what could I have done differently? You know, and then I've been teaching forever, you know, every time, what could I have done differently to get John and no Susie, she's so good. But to actually be engaged and have learned. But yeah, learn from this experience, and that will help me in the future. And I know it has to be done in the heat of things. That's what you do it. Mhm.
I have a question about John, if you have a student like John.
Mhm.
You ask them personally how to help them, or you just try to figure out by watching them?
I do ask, but it depends on the person, I really try to get to know my students well, and I try to find out more. And, one of the things I do before I start teaching them is they all have to come to my office so I can not just see the student taking this Spanish course, but also what's happening around in his life. I pass some kind of sheet, but they give me some information that I need, and when I teach first semester Spanish, I have 25 students in my class, but I have this section where I teach 3,000 level, only have 15. But I'm trying to do that, and yeah, that's the best way to find out. And you always try to ask them also in that little kind of questionnaire thing, what was the best way for them to learn? How did they learn the best? And then that can give you some idea. And then you're not always going to be catering to what John likes to do, but you will try to get back to that. Not too long ago, I got a letter in the mail from a student. I cannot get engaged, and so I asked her, and I waited for everybody to go, and I asked her, and then she started crying. She graduated, and I got a letter, and she said to me, "Thank you so much for asking me what was wrong with me. You were the only professor that ever asked me." So, it has to do with your personality, but, there are ways to find out without just kind of observing the student only. And then we have that ability with languages. My husband's a math professor, and he said, "How do you know that about Susie?" Because, when I ask for writing assignments, depending on the level, they tell me about themselves. That's the subject they know the best. That's how they can do the skills that I'm trying to teach them. And so that's another way to find out more about kids. Sometimes I don't want to know everything they tell me, but it's important for me to move on with my teaching. So part of this presentation comes from these Department of Linguistics and the Department University. They need to give them credit. And so that's what I have for you. What I'd like to answer. So exciting that you are going to be doing this. It's one of the hardest but the most rewarding jobs to teach languages, opening the doors for others. And when you hear them speaking, and even when they have accents to say, "Hey, it's not amazing, he can speak." So it's a great thing. Any questions? Could be personal questions. So I normally don't speak much English because I teach Spanish, but when I when I work with my students that are ESL instructors, of course the workshops are in English. But it is hard. Sometimes I see many faces of my students in the Spanish classroom, and they switch to English, to Spanish from English. But yeah.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
When they will be observing, is it better to focus on specific points? Because you have mentioned a lot of things that they can look at, right? So is it better to focus on some or a few points, or many more?
I think depending on how many times you do observe, they have to choose what they would like to look into. Especially if they are kind of doing that self-reflection and knowing what their weak points are, so they should be looking for those to avoid and learn from the better teacher. It depends on how many times, for us, in the education program, we call the practicum, and so they observe for like 2 weeks, and then they take one half of a lesson, and then, of course, they do the student teaching. So there are many opportunities to tackle all those tasks. But, I would really advise to kind of try to see what's the connection between the teacher and the students, what's the atmosphere, is that something you want to replicate, you want to avoid. See if that invisible lesson plan is visible to you. And just kind of an opportunity to reflect about what you're observing. I think that's important. But this is kind of like this whole program is, for a long period of time observation. You can't do that about watching one student when you're trying to see what the teacher is doing. You can multitask. You could. But yeah, I think it's just kind of seeing the skills that this teacher has. You know, in particular with languages, you know, what's the percentage of the target language? Should be, you know, at least 90%. That's something that you're trying to model. And you're trying not to get frustrated because, you know, there's going to be Peter speaking in Spanish, right? In the classroom. And so how do you deter from doing that? Those are things that you learn with time. But yeah, those are one too many tasks. But you know, I'm sure you already kind of identified the things that you'd like to be paying attention, things that you know that you're not good at. I for example, I get so excited with some of the activities when I'm teaching. Excuse me. The beginner levels, and then they look at me like, what do you want to do? It's the last thing you want to hear from the kids. What do you want us to do? Any other questions?
I have a question about the bibliography you use. I mean, the extra material you give to your student. How do you know when it's too much that they just can't handle it, and you know they're overwhelmed by it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you measure that?
Well, we teach under the rules of ACTFL, and we have, you know, measurements. And, you know, we talk about 1 paragraph, 2 paragraphs, you know, in terms of writing and reading. Sometimes you can kind of yourself develop the ability of seeing how much you always try to push them, and you don't want to overwhelm them.
Yeah.
But, you know, it has to do with how much interest they will have about that, what we call real material, right? Because, you know, the book is kind of predictive, it's designed for learners, but when you try to bring that reality, you know, that we call that is actually real, you need to kind of be like the mama bird, but you look at the text and you'll see, you know, this is something that you can tackle by things like underlining, highlighting the comments. You know, I think the key is in designing what they're going to be doing with that piece of extra work that you're bringing. You know, so what are you going to be asking? To summary and formulate that to another country. So I think it has to do with how you design the activity that they're going to, what they're going to get out of it. How is that related to the objectives? And you know, finding the way to present it that it doesn't become like an impossible piece.
Yes, because yes, I mean, I'm thinking about an exam. You have to study, and there are students that try to study everything, so they just come in their head.
Right. But that's the thing that you do also as a rehearse. You know, it's true that sometimes we should surprise them because they, you know, you're not going to tell them what the answers are, what the questions are going to be. But if you consistently do activities that then you can put them to the higher level, it has the same kind of order or pattern of doing it. And then again, depends on the level of where you are. That will help them to easy. You know, for example, they're going to ask, what's going to be on the test? Well, it's always going to be listening part, you know, vocab, grammar embedded, reading part, and of course the writing part, right? So they have this idea already, and they're always going to be doing the reading. And it's always going to be a listening, and it's going to be, I always tell them, do your preparation. And we're never going to ask you or start talking about something that you have no idea. It has to do with you. I have prepared you. And that's the difficult thing when we're teaching languages, that you try to keep the language, you know, you're recycling constantly, you know, the expressions of the word, of the verbs, so they are familiar with. And then, you know, in time, you can improvise and you just throw it, you know, forward.
How long did it take you to be able to mold lessons for that to be accessible to aesthetic learners, visual learners, and auditive learners at the same time?
Right. It's a salad.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, every 65 minutes we have for the beginner levels, we always teach 65 minutes 3 times a week. And so I try to have a little bit of everything. So I try to hit all those learning. And it is possible, particularly in a language class, to have the opportunity to do that.
Like trying different activities
Yeah.
that focusing on the same subject.
Related to the same topic, you are, doing, okay, now I'm gonna just get up and you're gonna talk to someone and you're gonna try to find this person, or now you're gonna write a summary, or you'll find ways. And sometimes the lesson allows you to do that. Sometimes the lesson doesn't allow you to do that. But you are, every class, you're somehow promising that things are going to happen. Sometimes this time wasn't my way of learning, but I'm sure it's going to just
How do you manage hard seat questions? When a student asks you something that you don't really know.
Oh, that's a perfect question. You say, I don't know the answer, but I'm coming back tomorrow with that answer for you. Email me and I'll give it to you. Yeah. You never say like, well, or you don't try to make up stories, because
No, that's
terrible. It's terrible. You say, you know what? That's so interesting, but guess what? I don't have the answer for that. And I'll get back to you. And come to my office. Let's find out together. So I know that's not a possible thing here, but I try to kind of not drop it and come up with the answer. Or I throw it to the students, say, okay, extra points. Whoever find out that in the internet, comes up with a complete answer, gets a local with you.
Yeah, in your experience, what would you say is the biggest challenge that a teacher faces when teaching English as a second language?
When you do have the good training, for my perspective, my students are native speakers, the ones that teach ESL. And sometimes they can explain the grammar themselves. For example, they don't know the translation or what exactly something means. I think for you, the biggest challenge is to keep in the target language. To not just step out and try to explain. That's the hardest thing, I think, to stay put and keep the language. Find ways, with movement, TPR, or finding the way to explain something. I think that's it's how to keep the language in the classroom alive, not to keep them speaking. And it's not like you're just kind of being the one that talks. That's the biggest practice that you need to develop when you're writing your lesson plan. How I'm going to keep everybody on their toes but not panicking, because if they're panicking, they're not going to learn anything. Nothing is going to get through. So how do you get to that level where they are relaxed, they're laughing in the language, right? You're keeping it in the language. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, question? And one big thing is also keep developing your skills constantly. I can hear many of you are very fluent. Continue reading in English, watching your movies in English, trying to meet people out there that are native speakers from different language, English-speaking countries. That's the biggest thing. When teaching Spanish, I have to become this multilingual person because, as you know, in each of these Hispanic countries, idiomatic expressions, vocab, fruits, vegetables change, right? And then, of course, your job is to have this kind of neutral, perhaps neutral accent that you should be able to provide and answer questions to your students. Because, the question sometimes is related to what you're doing, sometimes it's totally off. And that's why you say, oh, no, we'll just get back to it. And we'll find out about it. And it's, it's a good way to build a relationship, because you don't want to say, why are you asking me that? I know my stuff. I've been 6 months in Minnesota. It's frozen, but I learned. So you're always trying to have them in your side. And it means. Okay.
Thank you.